I'm Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And today we're going to be talking about why would they leave a good relationship?
So confusing.
It really is confusing. And I've had it happen to me. When you're in a situation where you feel like things are going well with that person and life is good, and then they end a relationship. Was it too good? Well, for many people, it can be too good because they're not used to getting that kind of love. And we're going to talk about that today because it doesn't make a lot of sense to think, well, why would somebody want to leave something where the person is good to me and caring and treats me well? But there are reasons for it. Why is it uncomfortable for some people?
Well, today we're going to talk a lot about attachment styles. So if you are new to our channel, we're going to dig deep today. You better buckle up.
Yep.
So an attachment style is basically the way that you learn to connect and bond with people that's based off of how your caregivers nurtured you and how they met your needs. So it's basically the blueprint for how your relationships go later on in life.
Yep.
Today we're going to focus on the avoidant attachment style, which is really where we believe a lot of the root of this comes from.
Yeah, I agree. I think, obviously people leave relationships for a lot of different reasons, but oftentimes they leave a good relationship because they are more avoidant.
Exactly. And it can be really confusing. How can all of the stuff from when you were a baby, 2-3 years old, even affect you now and even affect your adult relationships? It sounds crazy, but it's true. Over time, we adapt those messages from our parents. We learn that our needs are either important and valued and need to be heard, or we learn the opposite, that they don't matter. And so we're going to get into that today.
Yeah, and it's hard to believe because when I was even a therapist, I used to argue with Margaret and I'd just say, how can something that happened to you at 2 really have such an impact on you? But the longer I've done this, the more I realize it's absolutely correlated hand in hand. As a baby, you're given a lot of love and attention and affection. The more you get, the more secure and confident you become. Parents, they decide to let you cry it out, or they have their own issues, or they work all the time, or you're left with caregivers that are maybe neglectful or just not intuitive to understanding what you need. Or even if they're avoidant, oh, stop crying, I'll give you something to cry about. That's your blueprint for love, and you don't understand it, but it's really correlated to those needs in early childhood and then with your romantic partners later on in life.
Exactly. So when your needs aren't met time and time again, as a child, you can decide to protest, you can decide to cry and try to do everything in your power to get your caregiver's attention. Or if your needs are neglected enough, what can happen is you can decide to give up.
And I think that's what happens with the avoidant.
Exactly.
They stop counting on other people, they stop asking for things, and they just get to this place within themselves. They're like, you know what, I'll just take care of it myself. I don't need anybody else. I don't want anybody else. I'm fine. And they really just stop thinking that they can trust anybody.
Exactly. And it goes on an emotional level too. You might hear a partner say, well, I just don't have emotions, or I don't have feelings. You might even hear them say that emotions are useless, or I'm just not that emotional.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you hear these types of phrases and statements, they do stem from that avoidant attachment style, how they learn to bond with their caregivers, that their needs didn't matter. And so now as an adult, they've suppressed it for year after year after year until they just aren't even aware of their own feelings as much. They can't communicate them. They struggle with that.
Yeah, because they've done it their whole life.
And what this looks like in relationships is now they struggle to be vulnerable with the partner. Now they are also struggling to be aware of and to communicate some of their needs. And they also find intimacy scary, could be intimidating, it can
smothering,
be unfamiliar and uncomfortable. And so in this conversation about what makes somebody leave something good, well, if you think about it, when a relationship is good for a secure person, or even for somebody who's more on the anxious side of the spectrum, good is intimate. Good is close. Good is connected. Mm-hmm. And all of those things can be frightening to somebody who has an avoidant attachment style.
That's right. You know, a lot of times when you're with an avoidant, even if you're really good to them and honest and sincere and you've never done anything to betray them, they still don't trust you. Mm-hmm. And it feels very personal, especially for the anxious people. They're like, I don't understand. How could you not trust me? I've never done anything to not trust me. How do you not trust me?
Exactly.
I've had people that were like, they couldn't trust me. I'm like, me? Mm-hmm. Of all the people in your life, I'm the one you don't trust?
Yeah.
It's because they're not used to somebody being trustworthy. If your parents aren't trustworthy, it's going to be hard to trust anybody else. They think that there's some ulterior motive. They don't know how authentic or genuine you're being. It just feels uncomfortable to let their guard down, right?
Exactly.
If there's too much closeness involved.
Exactly. And you might be thinking, okay, well then why is this person in a relationship at all if they're so afraid of intimacy? Well, deep down, we are all wired for connection. It's part of being human. So in their head, it's hard for them to rationalize wanting love and being afraid of it at the same time. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes what you'll find happens is after a very intimate moment with your partner, or after a very connected moment, this can be after a trip. This can be after going to a wedding together, or after an anniversary, sometimes even after holidays when you're feeling really connected and bonded with your partner. Mm-hmm. You might find them retracting. You might find them suddenly distancing, and it can be really confusing.
Yeah.
But it's that I want this connection. Deep down inside, I want it, but I'm also afraid of it.
Yeah, if something gets like deeper or stronger or more intense, it scares them. Mm-hmm. Moving in together. We do see a lot of things around vacations. Mm-hmm. I see constantly about vacations, so right? And then they come back and they're just like, and this annoyed me about you and that annoyed me about you, and they're just looking for small things to complain about in many cases because it just feels too uncomfortable and overwhelming.
Exactly. And you might even see this after a commitment. Yeah. So you might think, well, why did they propose if they were going to break up with me a couple weeks later or a couple months later? Why did they move in with me if they were planning on leaving me eventually?
They wanted it at the time, but then they did it, and then once they're in that situation, they're like, whoa, this is too much. I can't handle this.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you're anxious, especially, you're going to take that personally. Mm-hmm. You feel like you did something wrong. And a lot of times an avoidant will have complaints to back up their their points, right? They'll be like, well, you did this, this, and that. But they're probably minor things. Mm-hmm. And they're making it seem like a big thing. Mm-hmm. Or they'll hold on to something that happened a long time ago in the present moment so they can kind of get control of the narrative there.
Exactly. And this also goes back to the awareness. Because they've suppressed their emotions and what they feel so much, that it's much easier to pick on something small than it is to really unpack all of what they're feeling.
Yeah, and they'll often throw out 4 or 5 things at a time, so you can't even address one before another thing comes out. Or something that you did so long ago that you're like, wait a minute, you can't be with me now because of this one thing that I did 2 years ago that you didn't have a problem with the last 2 years?
Exactly, because I put the milk first instead of the cereal.
It doesn't make any sense. Well, who would do that?
Yeah, that is psychopath behavior.
Yeah, I'm going to have to break up with somebody over that.
Exactly. And we're telling you all of this because we don't want you to regret wanting that close connection. Mm-hmm. It's natural to want to be close to your partner. And you may be thinking, oh my God, looking back on the relationship, did I overwhelm them by wanting to be close to them?
Yeah.
You might feel that level of guilt of, oh my God, I hope I didn't smother them. We're telling you all of this to say that that is their own attachment style. That's the way that they operate.
Yeah.
What you want, if it is closeness, if it is that security, all of that is healthy.
Yeah, that's normal to want those things. Exactly. So don't feel guilty if you wanted those things and they weren't able to give them to you. Mm-hmm.
And we really hope that all of this helps you make sense and helps you understand your partner better, helps you understand your ex, or what happened during the breakup.
The more you learn about attachment, your own style, the way you attach, and the way your partners do, the easier it is to navigate. That's why we have the workbooks and the creative healing course, because it's really about understanding yourself and other people, because everybody kind of wants love differently. Mm-hmm. And love feels different for certain people than others. And chances are you're attracted to somebody who loves very differently than you do. And it's your job to understand that and try and find the balance.
Exactly. And if you liked this video and want to learn more about attachment theory, we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos on our channel going in depth on all of these terms that we talked about today: avoidant attachment style, anxious attachment style. And I just want to be clear that none of these are disorders. Now, there can be, if it does develop into a personality disorder, etc. But attachment style, think of it almost like a personality style, like Myers-Briggs. Everybody has an attachment style. Everybody has a way of bonding and connecting. And these are just words that we use to describe those different common ways that people attach.
The more you hear it and it becomes familiar to you, the easier it is to navigate situations, to understand your ex. You want to understand what's going on with them? Think about their attachment style and the way they were in the relationship. It helps you really give you the insight to turn things around. Okay? So hopefully this has been helpful to you guys understanding why somebody would leave a good relationship, because it does get so confusing. And of course, that's what we're here for, is coaching. If you want to get our help personally, you can do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Victoria is also available for Skype coaching.
I'm here if you need to talk.
Just click on her name on the top of the website to do that. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon.